Yeah.
Good afternoon, good morning, good wherever you're listening from. Hello there. This is Michael Goldberg, and you're in. Hopefully, you brought a sandwich, an Oreo cookie, an apple, a juice box, and you're ready to learn some cool LinkedIn content with my buddy Fanny Dunnigan. Good morning, Fanny Dunnigan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Michael? Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking. So today we're going to be talking LinkedIn Live. So just want to call it out. I've known Fanny now for, I think we've had our 1 year anniversary.
I think so.
And,
yes.
And I still like you so much. So
I'm glad.
I'm kidding.
Feelings mutual.
You can sleep at night. It's all right.
Yes.
But basically, I mean, you remember it was at the Las Colinas Country Club.
Yes.
And it was you and Roger and Lindy.
Yes.
And it was just about this topic that we're going to talk about, the importance of putting yourself out there on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about that for business owners. Mm-hmm. For people that want to be seen as a subject matter expert, for job seekers that want to try some different things to get noticed out on LinkedIn, and then I was a pupil of Fanny's where I learned so much and really started putting myself out there. And funny enough, and strangely enough, about a year ago, about the job search, right, and trying to help job seekers, and we didn't even have an issue. Well, little did we know, fast forward a year later.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. And we're not going to focus on the doom and gloom, but almost a year later, it's come full circle.
Yes.
And and I've taken a lot of what I've learned from you and from some others. But you taught me the meaning behind having good, strategic, informative content.
Yeah.
And so tell everybody that's tuning in why do we need to have that type of content out there, no matter what platform you're on?
Right. Yeah, I really believe in posting content with a purpose, right? I don't think, I think a lot of people, as they get started, it's what I call haphazard posting. And it's just putting whatever up and hoping it gets views, and then that's the only goal. And while that may be fine to kind of experiment and just get your feet wet in the content creation journey, I think it's a lot more important if you really start with who do you want to serve, right? Start with the who, right? So if you're a business owner, who is your target client? What is your target industry? Right? Similarly, if you're a job seeker, ask yourself, who is your target employer? Right? Who are the colleagues that you want to work with? What's the company that you want to work for? And who are your peers in your industry that you respect? Right? And even for, whether you're independent coaches and consultants, always think of your target client or your target employer. Right? And
Absolutely.
then from there, you start to ask yourself, okay, now I define the who. Now I'm going to ask myself, what do I think their main challenges are? Right? What are they struggling with? What are their top questions? What's their pain points, their challenges? And then from there, then you can get into the content piece. And then you can ask yourself, okay, what can I provide to that target person or audience or industry that's from my level of expertise that can help them solve their problems and solve their challenges. And that's where we would start.
Yeah, and that's a great place to start. A lot of people think, and I think that's why people, and I don't know what your thoughts are, and we'll say hello to a few people here in a minute, but because we have quite a few people joining here, is that you really have to put some thought into this. And I think that's what makes people nervous. It's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to write about. Well, don't worry about what you're going to write about or video. Figure out who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and who you serve.
Who you serve.
Those are
Number
who you
one.
serve, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And it can be anybody. It could be, it could cover any array of topics. There's nothing that's taboo out there, really, except politics. Taboo, but really from religion and politics. LinkedIn is an open opportunity for you to really put yourself out there, right?
Yeah. And similarly with that tie-in, right? You also have to ask yourself, what two sides are you going to be on? If you want to create content for the sake of being popular and for the sake of having lots and lots of eyeballs on your content, then yes, go and choose the most popular topics and whatever kind of funny meme or whatever. But all that's going to get you is views. And views don't necessarily translate to clients or a job, right? Whereas on the other hand, if you create content with a very specific employer in mind, a very specific client in mind, then you're going to attract that to you. And you're going to attract that type of audience, attract that type of person. And those are the people that will spend money on you, and whether it's to hire you or to pay you as a consultant or coach. And those are the people that will be your clients. So I think a lot of people confuse popularity with money, and that's not always the case, right? A lot of views does not equate to a signed deal or a signed client or a job, right? So I always say, that's why we have to be so purposeful with the content that we create. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, so we've got quite a few people. We've got Dan Lockhart, the LinkedIn user, Van Elting, who's in desktop support.
Hi, Van.
He put this out there. Yeah, he said politics is invading LinkedIn. Yeah, I've seen that a little bit. I don't know, Fanny, have you noticed that a little bit?
I have. Yes, I have.
What's your recommendation on that? So when you see something, it just gets you steamed up. You shouldn't comment, right? Just move on to the next, right?
Yeah.
Unless you really feel passionate about it.
I think it depends on your values and the type of person that you are, right?
True.
If you are a person that really believes in speaking your truth, and you really believe in having a say, and that ties into your brand, right? And what you're trying to sell, whether it's yourself or your services, then you can't stop yourself from being you, right? But for me personally, and I'll be totally vulnerable and authentic here, like I'm not a conflict-driven person, right? I'm all about finding commonality, finding positivity. And so if there's something that I disagree with, I actually just scroll on by because it's not worth my time. And I concentrate on the things that I want to learn and concentrate on the people that I want to support. But that's me. That's my style. That's my personality, my values. So I think you really have to know yourself and ask yourself, like, by doing this, by commenting and by saying this, what does that do for my brand? And if it fits with your brand, go for it. If it doesn't, then I would hesitate and not do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And here I'll admit that one time, just one time, I decided to jump into the fray.
Yeah.
And got like electrified. I mean, it was barbecued, and you're just like, wow. If everybody else can say it, why can't I say it? Why can't I be the person that goes against the grain? And that's my personality. I like to challenge the status quo in thinking.
And that's your values and your brand. Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it ever since. I have feelings too.
Well, but sometimes those are the disruptors, right? In our industry, right? Yep. Like I look at Lindy Chapman, right? Our mutual friend.
Yep.
Lindy Chapman is a relocation expert, and she's a disruptor in the real estate business, right? But what she has to say is very important, very pivotal, but it will also spark debate, right? But I think what she's doing is very important work, and she's leading the charge on that. And that fits in with her brand. So go for it, right?
Absolutely. Well, and that's the beauty of LinkedIn is we all have something to share, right? Whether it's back in here somewhere. By the way, I did get a haircut, and
Very nice.
Yes, thank you. And also, it could be somewhere in work. So I remember when you and I were at Video Marketing World in August. Shout out Scott Simpson. And I was showing you my computer. And I was showing you all these things that I had done when I was in corporate recruiting.
Yeah.
And I could feel like you wanted to just slap me across the face and say, snap out of it. You've got so much content sitting here that it's not even funny. What are you holding back for?
Yes.
And I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And but finally that stuff is starting to come out, right?
Yeah.
So one of the go ahead.
Just really point out really quick, like that little example you gave, right? Especially a lot of our followers, I think, Michael, like a lot of them have like 15, 20 or more years of experience. They are experts in a certain field. They are experts in a certain industry. And I always like to equate social media posts to, they're like little movie trailers of your life, right? They're a little snapshot. You might have a 1-hour presentation that you give often, right? But for the social media posts, grab like maybe 3 slides out of it and talk about it, or grab like a little 2-minute snippet out of it and talk about it and post it. Because each one of those little snippets becomes great social media posts and LinkedIn content. And that's from your expertise, from your past, and from the work that you've done before.
So we have a question from Van. He says, what if your skills and job are industry independent?
Yes.
How would you answer that question?
Yeah. I think if you have like a broad skills and broad jobs, then leave industry out of it, right? But weave in your values, right? So you have your expertise. Let's say you're giving 3 tips to job seekers, right? Or 3 tips to build XYZ, or 3 tips around marketing or HR or IT, whatever it is, right? And also weave in language from your values, right? Meaning, like, so I value positivity, I value hope, I value trust. And if you're a recruiter, let's say, right, your expertise is around giving advice to job seekers, but you weave in your values of building trust, building connections, having authentic relationships with job seekers or hiring managers. And that's how you can start to bring your personality and values into the expertise and advice you're offering. And that's a great way to kind of like across all industries, people will see your expertise and they'll see the type of person that you are. And that makes you turn into like a 3-dimensional personality versus just, here's my 3 tips and then that's it, right? I think we buy things from people or buy services when we feel a connection with somebody. And so no matter what your jobs or skills are, even if it's across industries, also bring yourself to the table and bring your values to the table.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, one of the things I've kind of been reading about, and I fully believe, is when you're putting yourself out there, you want to be vulnerable, and that's not in every post.
Yeah.
But you want to be vulnerable.
Don't cry.
don't cry. Well, you can cry if you want. And be engaging. Be be convicted. Say things with conviction. Say it with that passion that really drives why you fully believe this.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we saw a lot of that during the Black Lives Matters protests from quite a few people, and we're seeing it now about staying inside or wearing a mask when you go out. Those aren't political opinions. Those are things that we can say with firm belief that we can reduce. If X, then Y.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you talk about that, you want to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So let's see. We have a new comment. It comes from What comes from our friend Van? He said, my skills started with overnight support of 20 to 50 clients across all industries for a little over 5 years. The most experience was supporting a pharmaceutical company for 6 years and a bank for 7 years. That's good. You have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Van, you could do tips on desktop support.
Yes.
From your perspective. So, Van's volleys of desktop support. Just come up with something creative, right?
Or even just like
you could totally.
Yeah. Even just here, like, wow, like support, right? You could even do like 5 common mistakes that I see being done around support, and then my 5 solutions to it, right?
There you go.
And that can be 5 videos right there, or 5 posts, 5 articles even, right? So right there in itself, I think what I really want people to think about creating content, whether it's a video or article or text post or image or PDF, whatever format, floats your boat and you enjoy creating. As soon as you do stuff like that and put it into the form of advice or tips or mistakes to avoid, however you want to talk about it, you're setting yourself up as an expert, right? That's so much more helpful to a reader or to an audience than a resume, right? The resume is still important. That tells people what you've done and, I guess accomplishments and all that. So still have that, but have your content be advice giving. And that's what's going to set you up as a thought leader, as a subject matter expert, and,
right.
A leader in your field.
I agree. Now, here's an interesting, you're going to like this. And thanks, Van, for sharing.
Thanks, Van.
Bringing your values to the table can be dangerous. I'm interested to know, I should, Gary, if you'd be interested, I'd love to invite you into the studio, see if you could explain that. I'm trying to, bringing your values to the table, can they be dangerous? You don't have to bring them to the table, but you can certainly, you don't have to say, okay, my values are this, this, and this. I think what Fanny's trying to say is align yourself to what you fully believe in and you hold true to yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, Gary, on coming on, we'd certainly like to discuss that. Let me know in the comments, and we can invite you on. We can have a
This is the beauty of live sessions.
So,
free coaching.
It is the beauty of live sessions, and right. Free, well, and it's and Van, the same thing. It goes to anybody. Mary, Dan Lockhart. If you guys want in, just let me know. I'll go ahead and create a banner that shows. Well, I don't know. I need to figure that one out. But if you're interested, let me know in the comments, and I will. I'll invite you into the session. So
one thing I want to say to that, right, around values. I think it depends on what our definition of values are. So when I talk about values, I'm talking about, what makes us unique, right? What do we value? And I'm talking about things like, do we value trust? Do we value empathy? Do we value competition? Do we value rapport, authenticity, vulnerability, hope? These one-word values, right? If you Google, like let's Google list of values, Michael. We should pull that up. And,
you want to you want to do that and share your screen,
I
and
will.
Then we can also. I know you have some other things you want to show the
because I want people to. There's so much around values that it doesn't have to be all these controversial things that we get into, right? Let me just find one real quick here.
I found one that had like 400 values listed.
Yes,
if I can find it all.
Blue, right?
Yeah.
It
was crazy.
The power of Google. Let me pull it up real quick while we talk here.
And the other thing, while you're looking, Fanny, one of the things I'll also say is, look, people are putting plenty of content out there. Don't be afraid to not plagiarize, but to borrow their topics and content if that's something you're interested in creating a platform out, then, and Chandra, we're going to get to that question in a minute. She goes, how to create content in a resume. She's about to show you that.
Yeah. So do you see my screen?
Not yet. Oh, I have to, I see it. I have to bring it to the stream.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. So this is what I mean by values, right? Do you value accountability, being accountable for your actions? Do you value balance, beauty, boldness, calmness, creativity, courage, discipline, diligence, empathy, fairness? Like there's fun, generosity, right? There's so many values to choose from. Pick 3 to 5 and have those words resonate throughout your resume, throughout your website, throughout your content, right? And that, I mean, if there's so much to choose from, and there's a lot that won't get you in trouble or be dangerous, right?
So I'd say to Gary, just make sure that when you put yourself out there, it's aligning with your values. If you're not, let's use courageous. And you almost do have to be courageous to put yourself out there, especially when you take that. It's like kind of like going off a high dive, right?
Yeah.
You just take these little teeny steps. You get to the end, you look down, and you go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go, all right, I can either be courageous and jump with the entire pool watching, or I can go back down the stairs. People aren't going to think any less of me for going down the stairs, but they'd rather see me have fun flailing my arms and my legs as I go down and I hit the water. Yeah. That's all it is. So if having courage isn't in your values, Gary, then you're probably not going to put yourself out there, but there's still that opportunity. So,
and there's so much like respect, right? Respect in the workplace, respecting our colleagues, respecting our team, right? There's a lot. I mean, companies have values, right? We always hear about company culture, company values. They choose from basically these kind of things, right? Humility, hopefulness. So I'd say Google list of values, pick out 3 to 5, and have that resonate throughout all your content as well. So that's my suggestion.
Well, here's something before we get to Chandra. And this is Van again. Have either of you read The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni? No. I will say the environment he espouses in his book is Van's ideal environment. And I think that's important, especially in a job search. So Van, you could totally break down this book. Yeah. Top 5 things I learned from reading Patrick Lencioni's Ideal Team Player. And in the comments, you put the link to buy the book, and you tag Patrick if he's on LinkedIn. You tag him, right? That's some of the cool things here. So, all right. So Fanny, let's get to Chandra. How to create content in the resume?
Great question, Chandra. Oh, I love seeing Chandra in the comments. She comes on
She's awesome.
My show as well. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you all to show you a very specific example of how I take a job description and create content from there. Are you able to see that? Yeah. Okay.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yes. Okay.
Just a little bit bigger. And I think the other part though of Chandra's question though is how do you take that content, how to create content in a resume? So the same could be applied for not only taking this and Chandra, you've heard me talk about this, is you could take what's on this job description and not create content, but create those action and power statements that align with what they're looking for in order to get your resume.
And Chandra is in HR, right? If I remember correctly.
I believe she is.
So I'm going to use that HR job description. Okay. So let's say this is, can you see it okay? Let's say this is a job description that you want to apply to, Chandra. And just apply your own example in your head for anyone else in the audience, right? So you pick out a job description And a lot of times, see, talk about values, right? This is a great example. A lot of times companies will put their values into the job description, right? So in this case,
Right.
Veritas Group, these are their core values: diligence, excellence, empathy, ingenuity, and verity, right? And so I would ask Chandra, or whoever the job seeker is, to ask yourself, when you look at a job description, see if those values match up to your own, right? You may find that they don't match. And so that might be an indication that that's not the right role for you. But if you find that their values matches your own, then you could start to incorporate those kind of words into your resume or into your content, right? And then I would pick out very specific things, like in this case, let's say they're looking for somebody with talent management experience, right? So that might be an indication where you highlight more talent management examples in your resume. Or if you're writing an article for LinkedIn, put 5 best practices in talent management and write down the 5 pieces of advice that you have around talent management, right? And so that way your resume lines up with what you're strong in this case, talent management. It's something they're looking for in the job description. And you're going to have a LinkedIn article or LinkedIn video or LinkedIn PDF that you could put up on your profile or on your posts around your best practices in talent management. Similarly with, making you dizzy. Similarly with, let's say, one of the bullet points is be able to facilitate and continuously improve employee onboarding processes. Right? Let's say you love onboarding employees, and that's something you're great at and something you're very, you want to be hired for, right? But you always notice companies making these 3 mistakes when they onboard people. So maybe you write an article around 3 mistakes to avoid in employee onboarding, right? Or you highlight certain onboarding practices that you've done in the past on your resume. So I always tell people, get very granular, get very specific, get very customized in your content and on your resume, and use the job description as your starting point to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
So
Sandra,
like
hopefully that helped you. Let us know if you have any other questions.
Yeah.
So our friend Van, again, says, any tips to recognize fake job ads and those annoying job aggregate sites that troll job boards, and put ads on it for them? Any recommendations on that?
I don't think I'm qualified to speak to that question. I don't know much about those job ads. What do you
I don't think there's
Michael?
a ton of fake job ads out there, unless that's good.
Unless that's like
if there's like
marketing,
1 or 2 sentences, I would say, I think, and those aren't fake job ads. That's just multi-level marketing, right? You could work from home and make twice the income you made before.
Sure.
Probably not going to do that. If you get an email or a note from the king of Nigeria who says he's got a boatload of money to give you, probably going to pass that on too. But I don't think there's too many fake job ads out there right now. Companies who are doing that shouldn't be in business, and it's the wrong thing to do. So,
and every job that I applied to.
Hello to.
Oh, Newton. Yes. I was going to say, every job I applied to, I always study the company too, right? So if there's a job that I really want, and I've been through so many career transitions, sent so many resumes out there, I always make sure I look up their website. I look for them across social media sites. And so I'm doing my research on that company as well. And I think from there, you'll determine for yourself whether they're legitimate or not. And I would go there to really validate whether that company is something that you want to work for.
So I'm curious, is somebody else in your house using the internet? Because it is like you're starting to come in a little choppy.
Oh,
just FYI.
really? It's possible.
So, no worries.
My husband's working from home too.
It's possible. So, yeah, no.
Sorry.
So there's the man himself. Should I verb my value? So, Gabriel, I don't know if you were just if you were on before when we were talking, but Fanny?
Yeah.
Fanny, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Sorry, something's going on with the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It says I have strong internet access, but I'm believing that I don't.
Okay.
So Gabriel says he's new to content creation. Well, Gabriel, no questions asked. You need to hire Fanny. She'll help you create
Gabriel
the content.
has a whole live show.
How are you running out of things to say? I'm a little 7 days a week. Hello.
Gabriel,
right?
if I were you, though,
dude, I've known you for about 6 months now. Yeah.
Gabriel, you have so much. I was going to say for Gabriel, he has so much content. I think right now you can take each of your live shows and pull out a 2-3 minute segment and repost that as content. So if I were you, you have tons of content, Gabriel. For those that don't know, Gabriel has a live show that goes live, every day. And pick out key things that you said or your guest said and pull out that 2-minute clip and repost that as content on your feed. And then you can tie that back to your LinkedIn replay. So not only are you highlighting a key point that you or your guest said, which you think will be of value for your audience, you also get to tie it back to a replay or tie it back to a YouTube video, however you store your sessions after they're live. And so that would drive more traffic to your show again. And at the same time, for those people that don't want to watch, a 30 or 60-minute show, they get that 2-minute snippet as well. So you have tons of material. All you have to do is cut things out and repurpose it, Gabriel. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Gabriel, the answer to this question is no. Remember, LinkedIn is not about you. I think this was a setup question because I know Gabriel better than this. This is not about you. It's about what's in here and how you communicate to your LinkedIn family and to your connections. So do you like me is not going to get you a lot of comments or engagement. It's not a good post. You want to, if you were to say, here's where we are today in terms of, I'm making this up, challenging. We're in challenging times. How do you get out there and deal with how are you dealing with these challenging times?
Yeah.
So taking the onus away from you, and as the writer of that content, I'm putting it on them to answer, and I'm inviting people to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And that's what LinkedIn is all about. It's not about you. Nobody cares about you. They care about what's in here and what's right. Yeah. Hearts on the left side. Yeah. At least in my chest. All right there. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think I always tell people there's 3 parts of a post, right? In how you write the text above your video or above your image or whatever it is. The first part is the headline, which is an attention-grabbing sentence or a question or 3 tips to whatever, 5 tips to whatever, however you want to pitch it, right? So that's the first thing, headline. That's the very first sentence. And if you can grab people's attention, then they're going to click that see more, right? And that's when it gets to that second part of your post or the middle part of your post, which is your body. That's where you give some pieces of advice or share a story or share an experience and the lesson that you learned from it. And that can be in the form of bullet points or a list or a bunch of like short sentences and paragraphs, right? You have 1,300 characters to play with. But the very end, right? You should always end with a question. Ask your audience a question. and say, what do you think about that? Or do you agree? Or drop your advice below. Maybe you have 5 tips, ask people to drop their 6th tip into the comments below. And that's how you kind of engage your audience, and it becomes this kind of two-way dialogue with your audience. Hope that helped. But Gabriel, you know this.
Gabriel's playing us. Come on, Gabriel. Give us a challenging question, man.
I see one from Sal. So, pull that one up. From Sal Vergara.
From Miss Sal. Yeah.
Yes. I'm actually going to be on Sal's show later on this afternoon. Sal, I'm giving your show a plug. It's called The Dope Experience.
Well, Sal's never invited me on his show. Well, okay. Just kidding.
I'm just more special.
Just kidding.
So, yes.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us. I'm kidding.
Common denominator.
So what have you seen as the common for folks that are being hesitant, reluctant to create video content? I know the answer, but I'm going to let you go for it.
Yeah. I think it's 3 things. 1 is fear. 2 is they're not sure how. And then 3 is they're not sure what their unique offering is. Okay, so I'll address each one of those separately. Number 1, fear, right? Because we fear judgment, we fear disapproval, we fear putting ourselves out there, we fear failure, right? All those things. Those things still race through my mind, right? But a lot of that has to do with, again, thinking of your who and asking yourself why I want to serve people, why I want to help people, and come from that space. And I have a favorite hashtag that is like #DoItScared. Just do it scared. Like, let your heart pump as you're like talking, right? Let it oh my gosh, my first video, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. My heart was thumping out of my chest. But it gets better and it gets easier over time. The second part is not knowing how, right? There is a lot of content out there, right? There is a lot of free content, or you could hire a coach and help you with it, or you could take courses. And so there's a system and there's a formula and there's a method of posting things very purposefully and with intention, right? So you can always address the how. And then finally, like, not knowing what to say and not knowing what your offering is. And I see that a lot, especially even from people that are very experienced. And I would really ask you, if you're struggling with that, is to really look through your past and ask yourself, what are the top questions that I always get asked? What do people always seek my advice on? Even if it's friends or colleagues, what do my colleagues always ask me? What do my friends always ask me? What do my clients always ask me? And then use that as the starting point for the type of content that you create. Because if they're asking you that, they think you're an expert in that field and around that area. And that's a great place to start. And that's why we have like frequently asked questions on websites and on, all kinds of forums, right?
Yep.
The most common question you get asked is probably the expertise that you're most known for. So,
absolutely.
There you go.
And
Hope
Robin,
that answers your question, Sal.
Robin sums it up quite nice. Robin Slocum, thank you for this.
Thank you, Robin.
Fear rule your life. You'll never get anywhere. That's right. The only way you're going to be a failure at this is if you don't put yourself out there.
Yeah.
That's the only time, because we fail when we don't try something new.
Yeah.
Or try to learn something new and be different than everybody else. Yeah. Right. And this is your opportunity with with the millions of people, the 21 plus million people looking for jobs. I think it's higher. Looking for jobs. You have a way to stand out on a platform to share your expertise. I don't care if you work in a grocery store or if you're the CEO of a Fortune 50 company. You have a chance to stand out by putting yourself out there. You would like to see the follow-up. Hi, Fanny. You're on my list of guests. Goldberg. Very good. So, all right. And then he says, and so here's a plug for you, Fanny. Has helped me overcome all of these insecurities. I also learned toward our friends,
Good.
Craig Fisher, Steph McCauley, who have been guests on the show to help me with my first one. They made it more enjoyable and easy to produce. So I'm glad you've had a positive income.
Yeah.
The one thing that I always say is when I'm feeling fear, it really boils down to your ego. And if and basically get rid of your ego, embrace the fear. So I always say I embrace fear and choose love instead. That's from Gabrielle Bernstein's May Cause Miracles book. But it's my favorite. And I swear to God, it calms me down. It calms me down, whether it's money situation, clients, the whole 9 yards. Put yourself out there and do something different. So if you're not connected with Fanny Dunn, I mean, come on. She's on LinkedIn. Go. You need to do it.
Yes.
And reach out to her, and she will be glad to help you overcome that fear.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to push you off the ledge. Fanny does a little more gentle. Me, I just go. Oh, I'm kidding. So
I want to add something to that real quick, Michael.
Please.
I heard this wonderful quote, and I read a lot of self-development material and books, and I realized over the years that I think the goal in life is growth, right? For the longest time I thought the goal in life is to be happy, but I'm happy, right? But even when I'm happy, I'm kind of restless, right? And so I've realized that in life, it's all about growth. And every day I want to grow and learn. And what I found is on the other side of fear is growth, right? And everything we're afraid of is because there's something we need to learn and we need to overcome. And if we just lean into that discomfort, lean into that unknown, but along the way, we are learning about ourselves. We can fail, but then pick ourselves up. On the other side is just growth and continual learning. And it's a beautiful place and discovery, right? I think, especially with content creation, and I don't know if you found this as well, Michael, like, I think the more we create content, the more we find our voice and the more we realize our impact in the world, and the more we realize our gifts to the world, and to really embrace that. Have you noticed that in your content journey?
Yes, I know when I've got I feel every time I post, I'm growing.
Yeah.
I feel like while I am happy, there are stressors that we all have in our lives.
Sure.
But when you learn something new, those stressors become minimalized.
Yeah.
And just put yourself out there. I want you to, everybody has homework who's still on. You have homework. I want you just to take something and I want you to write it out. You can send it to either me or Fanny. We'll take a look at it and we'll be glad to help you craft your first post. If Fanny does work on a full-time job, so or kind of part-time, full-time, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But you can send it to either one of us.
Or tag us.
We'll help you craft and tag us. Tagging, hitting that Shift 2 key, the @ sign on the 2 key. That's going to be, you want to make sure you're tagging us. So tag us, but put yourself out there. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the engagement. Just put yourself out there. Try it for a week. I guarantee you between day 1 and day 7 or day 5, whenever you want to do it for 5 days, you're going to see an improvement just on the things that Fanny's talked about today. Right? So I want you to try it this week, or if you want to think about it and then do it next week, tag Fanny and I, refer to us that you saw us on the show, let us know, and we will be glad to help you out.
We'll support you.
Absolutely, will support you. So Fanny, I know that for any SAP developers that are watching, or that you know of SAP developers looking, Fanny is also works as a recruiting contractor for, is it the Delaware companies?
Talent acquisition for Delaware Consulting. Yes.
Delaware Consulting. So feel free to reach out to her if you know of.
I'm looking for right now an SAP manufacturing lead. So
there you go. And what's the special skill set they need to have?
It's called SAP production planning.
There you go. Well, but there was also other ones that we were working on too.
Yeah.
Was that R2 or something like R2?
S4 HANA is the version.
Yeah,
the latest
S4 HANA.
version.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's very niche. And if you know anybody that has that skill, let them reach out to me. And especially if they have aerospace and defense industry background.
Yes. Any other things you want to narrow it down? Because you've created a niche like about that big.
Pretty much. That's why my job is like.
That's where sourcing comes in.
Narrow lane. Yes.
Yeah. So no, it's all right. So Fanny, I love you with all my heart.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on my show.
Absolutely.
And having a conversation. I'm still thinking of much better names for your show. Have you come up with a name yet?
Yes, it's the Fanny Dunnigan Show.
The Fanny Dunnigan Show. There you go.
For lack of a name, I'll just use my name. Then I can cover whatever topics I want.
I was thinking about that while I was swimming today. I was trying to come up with, the only one I could come up with, fans of Fanny or Fanny's fun advice or fun content advice or something. I don't know. I'm still working on it.
Well, for those of you
everybody,
in the
thanks
audience,
for joining. So
I go live every Thursday at 4 p.m.
She goes live at 4 p.m. So yes, Celeste, I'm sorry. She goes, sorry, I believe I missed this. Yeah, it's okay, Celeste, but guess what? And somebody else asked this. If you want to watch this, you can catch it on the replay. It automatically downloads this here. Feel free to comment. Feel free to share by hitting the right arrow with some of your friends. Feel free to comment, continue the conversation. Be sure to tag us, tag Michael and Fanny if you have specific questions.
Yes, please.
And then we can take it offline and answer anything you have for you. So next week, Celeste, 11:30, be here. Or join Fanny's show at 4 o'clock on Thursdays. Yeah. So, well, thanks, guys. This has been fun, and I hope you all have a productive week. Yep. Remember, as I say, stay safe, stay inside, keep your mask on if you're going to go outside, obey the rules. Let's try to flatten this curve sooner rather than later. Let's get the economy going. Fanny, you're wonderful.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me on your show.
Sure. Thanks. And
bye.